part three of our listing with the pre-listing, the presentation. The third P is prep and market. So, does anyone in here like to do or believe in listing a property in coming soon status? I see some like this, some like this. I wish we had more time because I would love to ask each one of you because I love just to hear that that side of it. Today's class, what we're going to talk about is going through a coming soon. Listen, we all know in today's market, you put a sign out, it could be gone in an hour or as you're putting the sign in the ground, right? But again, we're thinking about this long term and not just in today's snapshot of a market. We're thinking about this, overall, you building your business and having your process down. And so, what I would suggest is to, if you're not thinking about doing coming soon, is to think about it. And if you are doing it, great. Here's some more suggestions with that. But building a buzz with coming soon does a lot. It does a lot to help you just brand yourself, right? I mean, it is, if you're thinking about it that way, your goal in business is to have as many eyeballs on your information as possible to see your picture or your name and things like that, so you can brand yourself. But also, this helps the client. I'll tell you why. We'll go through that. So building the buzz with coming soon, professional photos and video. We all know that's important. We'll take a little bit of a deeper dive into that in a second too, about the professional photo part. You can send this to your database, the people that you already know, to give them an early online preview, right? Take a look at this home coming soon. The MLSs will let you do a coming soon for up to 21 days. You don't have to use 21 days. It can be one day, right? But if you just do one day coming soon, I'll tell you some benefits of that. So you can do coming soon, just listed postcards to the 20 closest neighbors, to 100 neighbors, to the neighborhood, whatever you want there. So it gives you an additional branding time, right? Coming soon, then you go just listed, then you go under contract, then you go just sold. You can use that on social media or in print, however you want to structure that. But it does give you another status to be able to, market that property. In this scenario, we'll look at a calendar, but you can go live like on a Thursday with an open house on Saturday, right? And I'll tell you this bottom piece right here for me is the reason why I walked you through this. Is it's a huge benefit for your seller. You have a lot of showings right now, right? So in one weekend, you put a property on the market, and say the seller still lives there, right? And say they have to come out for every showing. So maybe you have what 5-10 showings that weekend, maybe 20, and so maybe there's some gaps in between. The seller needs to go back home to let the dog out or whatever. If you structure it like this, what we're about to look at on the calendar, you will save your client time. And so what that might look like is today or Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, when you go meet with your seller and they sign your listing agreement, you could put it in coming soon status, right? For all of this period of time or whatever. I would recommend you get to like a Thursday to where that coming soon ends and it's active on market. And then in the notes, showing start on Saturday. And that's when you have your open house. You can have 2, you can have 1, whatever you want to do. You can have a 4-hour, a 2-hour, a 1-hour, whatever you want to do for that property. But that's when all of the people come through the property, right? And so you probably seen this strategy. You may have done this strategy, but it does help your seller because you're like, seller, I need you out of the property from noon to 4 on Saturday and noon to 4 on Sunday, or 11 to 6 on Saturday, whatever your time frame is. But then besides that, they're back in the house, right? And hopefully, with this market especially, you've gotten some offers just from that time period. So that's where I would argue it does save your client some time and headache and scheduling, things. If it's a vacant property, it's just probably more of a branding play and time for, you to be able to meet people too, but also give people time to go see a property. There are buyers who, visit properties just to see open houses, but there also are buyers that come up unrepresented who are serious. So you never know what's going to happen there, but I would argue that it is a good chance for you to market that property and to brand yourself. So after the open house, hopefully you're giving your client great feedback, negotiating offers on the march to closing. We touched on pictures. Does anyone here believe that cell phone pictures are better than professional pictures? Show of hands, anybody. So cell phone pictures, we all shook our head no. I mean, maybe there's a case here and there for maybe something maybe more investor level that you would do, but again, this is your branding. And if we're thinking about that long term play, right, the long term versus short term, this is your branding. If this is your first listing, this is your chance to take those pictures and now show it to the next seller, and now show the two listings to the next seller, and continue on, right? So that's why, and plus you're going to show this online, you're going to market it there. That's when people look at pictures and say, "Oh, who did that?" Right? Or, "Wow, look at those pictures. I know that neighborhood, and that look at that home." Right? And not that they edited the photos, but I'll show you some examples of what just regular editing can do to a picture from a professional. Arriving early, staging the home for photo session. That doesn't mean you have to stage the home. That doesn't mean you have to bring furniture in. Now, if it needs it, definitely want to talk to the seller about doing something like that. But more staging it for the actual photo session, and we'll actually give you this checklist to download in Vision that walks through that. And so this is more for like to the seller. Hey, we have pictures Tuesday. I'm going to give you kind of a checklist. These are the things we want to really check out, because some of these things, you're not going to necessarily do. Some of the things you may do, right? Opening up the window shades, turning all the lights on, those type things. And so you would want to arrive a little bit early to help do that. And a lot of photographers, a lot of real estate photographers will tell you, like, especially if it's maybe your first time, just say, "Hey, what do I need to do? Turn on lights, do this or that," at their recommendation. And they say, "Yeah, this time of day, let's do this, because there may be the sun coming in at a different angle or whatever." But let them tell you, and then just help them, right? Because again, this is your brand, and these are your pictures that you're going to take and market with this property. And so what we have down there, obviously, is these photos can make or break the sale of the home, right? Think visitor interest. The first time a client typically sees the home is online, right? And so you're going to be able to have that checklist there. And again, here's another little stat we brought back. But the value of a website feature, photos, was ranked, as you could probably guess, #1, right? 90% almost for photos on the property. The next one is detailed information about the property, right? So photos and what is the property, what's the information about it, was voted for the highest value for buyers. So it may not come across on Zoom quite as well, but does anyone want to take a guess on which option is the professional photo, A or B? There's a fine line, right? There's a fine line between misrepresenting the property and just having a professional picture that is not edited to the point where it's editing out the sad part, like you stated, but enhancing the photo to its ultimate place, right? I mean, that's where the fine line is. And also the other thing about the professional side of it is, I like to think I'm creative and I can do a lot of things, but I've taken photos with a phone with a professional being there, just to kind of, oh, well, let me see what I would have done. And it's not necessarily the quality of the camera or your iPhone versus a nice camera. They're very close nowadays. It's the eye of the photographer. A lot of times it's the angle or the height or something that is in that room or on that property that they pick up, for me anyway, that I was just like, okay, there's no chance I'm ever going to take these photos, because #1, it's my brand, and #2, they just have the eye for it, right? That's their career path, that's their industry. It's well worth it, in my opinion, for you to be able to market yourself and also sell the property, because that's our #1 goal, right? Is to be able to do that. But the other thing is, if you're selling a home, you're probably sending it to all your friends. "I'm selling my home,
Yes.
blah blah blah," and then they're going to go through the pictures and say,
Mm.
"Oh." They're either going to say that or, "Wow, who is your agent?" I've been in your home, right? Like,
Yes,
who's
I
your
agree.
agent, right? And so now that's you again. That's your brand. But all right, so I think we answered the question. Number B is obviously the pro in this one, and A is the DIY, and that's an actual picture. Like, that's an actual situation. That's not just a photo that was then edited to make it look like a pro. That is the actual situation. So now we talk about drone staging, other things. If you have a wow factor on that property, a lake, a mountain, golf, some kind of view, just something about that property, acreage, right? Anything that would really benefit to have drone photos. Again, another marketing piece for you to then take to the next listing or that neighborhood or that area or the lake, right? And now, if like say it's your first listing on Lake Lanier, if you hire a drone photographer to take that property, but also the lake, now you have other lake drone photos for your other lake properties on Lake Lanier. Now, you might have to say, like, it's not in this cove and it's not this or that, right? But you at least have some general photos that you can then use. And especially if it's a neighborhood or an area that you're going to farm or that you want to work in, now you have that. And so I love the drone photos. We all like to, I think, look at those drone photos or drone videos. And so I think it's a great benefit if you have a property that you can even think about, hey, this will be a good shot for that. It's got mountains in the background or lake or golf or whatever. So, huge benefit for being able to do that. Or you're working downtown Atlanta skyline. I mean, some of those photos are the most beautiful photos you can imagine, right? Just seeing that skyline and the drone's up high and it's not coming from inside the condo or the skyrise, right? It's something outside of there. There's just something captivating about it. And again, it's your brand. People are looking at who else is selling in this condo neighborhood area and what marketing are they doing, and you're able to bring it. So I'm going to stop talking about that part of it. Just want to show you some examples. Floor plans, virtual staging, or actual. We'll look at some examples here, and also renders and item removal. Which I didn't know was really a thing until I saw it the first time, and I was like, "That's incredible." And so, what we're going to do is look at some examples. I hope this comes across on Zoom like I see it on my screen. But the photo on the left here, the only photo you can actually see right now, beautiful photo, right? It looks great. I don't see anything wrong with it. But look at this, for an image enhancement of $1.60 to this service, boxbrownie.com, you get that after photo much brighter, a little bit lighter. You can see the details a little more in the stone work around the front, in the landscape. I mean, just a tremendous difference, right? In between that, $1.60 just for that, just for that image. And so a lot of times your professional photographer will do this anyway. But say you got a picture and you're like, I used this photographer once and I just didn't like it. So I'm gonna send these photos in. You send 5 or 10 in, and $10, $20 later, now you have 10, 20 photos that you really love, right? And then now market you. So let's take a look at this. Empty room, after. This is virtual staging, right? Shadows, furniture, $24 for that picture for them to do all of that. It depends on how much you want them to put in the photo on the virtual stage, but this is great for that vacant property. You're not putting, maybe the price point's not as high where it might benefit $3,000-$5,000 staging or whatever that runs for that square footage. And so you do a virtual stage, and obviously you put on the picture and on the MLS description that it is virtually staged, right? But it does give the person an idea when they're looking at the property. And the other good thing you can do with this is print it on really nice paper and put it in that room, right? So now when the person's walking through, maybe they looked at it online, probably, but maybe they didn't. And now they're in that room and they're like, oh, yeah, I could totally see a bed going here or a rug going here. We all know clients, they walk into an empty room, it's like, I don't understand, right? Where's the furniture go? And they want to tape it off on the floor or whatever. This kind of eliminates that as if you're the listing agent, right? So now you're opening yourself up to more buyers who think like that, who are like, I don't even understand what I would do with this room. Now here is at least an example. That's one of my favorites. I love that part. This one is the one I didn't know existed. And so for $4, they will remove all the junk. It's probably the cheapest junk removal you'll get on the internet for sure, to be able to do that. So they eliminated that. Now, again, this probably is a great scenario for the person's moving out. And like, you're like, we got to take these photos today because every other room's ready and it's going to rain the next 3 days. So you take the photos, send this to them for $4, and they'll take that stuff out, and your seller's going to take it out of that house tomorrow anyway. And now you have a nice clean room, which then you can take and put into the virtual staging if you want to, right? So, kind of a twofer right there for $28. Now you have a room that's staged that had junk in it before.
What was the name of that company, Demo?
Yeah, it's, I don't know if you can see on the screen, it's probably blurred a little bit, but it's Box Brownie. And I'll put it in the chat box. It's boxbrownie.com. I think there are a few out there. This is one that I've used personally when I was doing real estate. So that's why I like them. and they're super quick on the turnaround, really good customer service. You just essentially upload your picture. They send you an email and say, hey, it's ready. And, you paid for it when you went into their service before. But that's an item removal. So, keep that in mind. The other thing, maybe you're doing a neighborhood that has a lot of pools. So they will do a virtual renovation, add a pool. This one can get pricey depending on what you want them to do, but 24 to 176, again, depending on the price point that you have for that property, it may be something that you look into, right? All the other neighbors have pools. That property, would be great with a pool. So now in this scenario, in this virtual renovation, now it has a pool that you can show and say, this is what it will look like. You've probably been in properties where you see it at the front of the property when you walk in. You're like, hey, this was a virtual reno of the backyard with a pool. And so all of that's available. Plus, if you're working for maybe a builder or a new construction or something like that, they'll take a floor plan, just a regular floor plan, and they'll make it sort of like a 2D textured, type floor plan where the client, right, that just typical client looking at this really quick, they're going to be able to say, oh, that's where the cars go, that's where the sofa goes, that's where this and that go. And oh, sorry, and that one's around $28, so still relatively inexpensive. And then ones like this, they'll actually take a blueprint. As long as you have the elevation drawings, like the 2D, flat blueprint, they'll take it and make a 3D rendering out of it as well on that property. So again, more new construction, tear downs or whatever, something like that you're working with, maybe investors, but at least some great options for you to be able to market and put this out. So that's one of my favorite vendors that we'll review today for sure, just because of the cost, very, very effective, and just the quality of work. And again, you bringing something to the table as you're walking through that property. The client says, oh, this basement's so great, and maybe it's finished, but we ended up storing all of our stuff down here. And, I got a great solution. We'll take the photo. We'll remove this. You'll have your stuff out before showings anyway. And, now you can market the property and put that basement picture, that finished basement or whatever it is, in the listing, right? In the coming soon, and then in the listing. Next section we're going to talk about, and let's see where. Okay. Yep. So we're in a good spot right here. So this section we're going to talk about, you've gotten the photos, you've done all of the hard work through the listing contract, you're going to market. Where and how should you market that? And we did have a question about the turnaround time. They haven't, depending on what you want them to do, like the image enhancements, I think was a few hours the last time I looked. And then if you wanted the full renderings, those take a few more, I think maybe like a couple of business days or something, but it should be, based on whatever level of activity they currently have. So you'll just want to see what you want to get done, and they should have it on there, like turnaround time is this amount of time. But great service. Where and how should you market? Let's talk a little bit about that. And it is very important to know where buyers actually found the home they purchased. And I didn't ask you this one because we all would have said the internet, or probably most of us would have said at least started there. So if you look at this, though, the interesting thing about this one, where the buyer found the home they purchased, the internet 51, the agent 28. So 28% of the time they found the home they purchased from you, right? So you digging in the FMLS, you keeping in touch with them, driving by the neighborhood, going into a new construction neighborhood, doing all of that stuff. You doing the legwork, help them almost 3 out of 10 times, and then 5 out of 10 they found it on the internet. So combo of that blows everything else out of the water. And you can see down here at the bottom, right? I have a lot of agents who, when we talk about just marketing properties, they ask about print, newspapers, magazines, things like that. Well, this stat from NAR shows you they have stars beside print, newspaper, home book, or other, because it's less than 1%. So when you're, it's easy to chase the shiny object, this magazine, this postcard, all these other things. But when we really look at what's the highest return on investment for you and for the client, right? Because ultimately they're given a commission, and the commission is given to help sell this property, help market this property and all of that stuff. print is great for branding, it's great for recognition and all of those things, but you have to be careful, with some of those things you can chase around, and they say, give me $150, I'll put it in every, print newsletter or whatever it is. But really, where are buyers finding it? And it's you and the internet that they're finding it on. So, thinking about that money going towards social media marketing or Google pay-per-click or Facebook marketing or something like that may be a better option for you and for the client to get recognition, because that's where the buyers are finding it, right? So that's where we want to be. The first step, we're going to look at it, just maybe one or two more stats here. The first step taking towards that process is, again, confirming what we just looked at. They're looking for the online properties for sale. And look at all of those. I mean, just all of that equals 40%. And then this is 43 looking online. So looked in the newspaper, information about schools and found it that way. Visited an open house, only 4%. Drove by a home, 6%. Talked to it. All of these categories only equaled 40 when looking online equaled 43, right? So again, we want to be online. We want to market it there. We want to make sure that we are really focused on that, because that's where more and more buyers are going to be looking for their property, or they just simply find it there, right? And that's good information for you. Signs, I just want to hit on this really quick. Again, this is your branding, right? So the signs that you put in front of a property, that's your brand. And so if you're using the post signs, the nice post signs out there, and you have one of those to be able to put in front of that property, that's going to market you to a certain level of expectation. So just keep that in mind. It is what it is. That's what the public looks at, right? When they're thinking about, oh, that home sold, let me go drive by there because it's in our neighborhood or area. They're going to look at all the marketing, the pictures, the signs, everything that you've done for that property that they can find on their own. Which those are two of the biggest ones, right? The listing itself, the pictures, and your signs. So, if you could swing it, highly encourage the post signs. It's just going to brand you and make you, even more the rock star that you are. You can also do some, open house signs, branding with the directional type signs to be able to do that. Add the riders if you want to, kind of just to further market yourself. If a neighbor sees a sign go in the ground today, and then tomorrow or 5 days later, even in this market, they see an under contract rider go on there with your name, they're probably going to think twice about their friend in the business or something else, someone else they know. They may put your name in there, and then maybe you contacted them or seen them as they're walking through the open house and you've already met them. And now hopefully that spurs some, opportunity for you. So if you think about it, holistically like that, like the whole thing is just working together, and you're there for the success meets opportunity. That's what the preparation is, right? So agent icon, hopefully you're able to already use these, because this is fantastic, right? This takes the guesswork out of you marketing on Facebook. And we just talked about, where are people looking? They're looking on the internet, they're looking on Facebook and Google and YouTube and Instagram and places like that. And they're seeing these beautiful properties and they're saying, I want to go see that. I want to live there. And so for these opportunities that you have right here in the palm of your hands, essentially at Solid Source, Agent Icon is tremendous resource. If you, and I normally go through this when I talk about Agent Icon, if you are not seeing an email to your email every Monday through Friday that says image of the day, and it has something like what we're looking at on the far right, the two on the far right, please check your junk folder in your email and just type the words Agent Icon, like you see printed on this slide, and try to find it and make it a safe sender, non-junk. And that should spur it to come to you every day. If you check there and you still don't see it, like you're just looking in there and you're like, it's not in junk, it's not in regular, please email me so we can get you on this, because this is just marketing done for you. All you have to do is right click, copy, paste, put it in Facebook, put it in Instagram, places like that. So this is a home on this left side. The actual photo is a home in Milton, Georgia. This was taken with a cell phone. So, there's no doctoring that was done by the photographer. Sent to Agent Icon, and you'll get a list of, if you've never seen this before, it's really cool. You'll get a list of photos back that have things like coming soon, just listed. Now, just give you a little kind of a little heads up tip. What you could use this for is you're going on that listing appointment we talked about earlier. Obviously, you have to, go up to the property. So as you're going up to the property, you can take a picture of of the property, text it to Agent Icon. Under 10 seconds, you're going to have back these photos that then while you're in there with that client, you're like, this is the type of marketing that I do for my clients, right? And you'll have pictures just like this. And if you don't believe me, I hope you believe me, but if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you. And so what we'll do, I'll tell you, I will click play right now. And so you'll see this live. This was a real screen grab, real time. All you'll do, and I'll give you the numbers, the phone numbers here shortly. They're also on Vision for you, depending on if you're Solid Source Realty or Solid Source Realty Georgia. But essentially, you'll just take the picture of the home, just like you see. This is a live video right now, still playing. You'll take that picture, you'll text it to Agent Icon, and then you'll see that what you'll get back. And look, that was all real time. The images are ready. You click on that, and now you'll be able to go to the actual site where all of those pictures are. So just listed, just sold, new listings, under contract. You actually get congrats, thank yous, happy closing day, sold, and coming soon. So now all you have to do is just download that image, copy, paste, and put that into your marketing for that property. So that's how easy it is. If you've never done it, you can also, there's also a phone number for you to promote you. And so you can take your picture, your headshot, professional or whatever, you just take it and send it in, and you're going to get examples back, like your hometown agent and things like that. So now you can use that for marketing on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you want in your emails. So really, really nice system. If you've never used it and you cannot find those emails in junk folder, please email me so that after this class we can get you hooked up with this, because we definitely want you to be able to have this at your fingertips. Here are the phone numbers. Like I said, you'll have all these slides at the end of class. I'll show you where to get it. If you want to take a second and write it down, if you're SSGA or SSR, feel free to do that. That is the number that you actually text your picture to. So, feel free to just snap a picture. It can be a lamp or a phone or whatever in your house, just if you want to try it out. But that is the actual phone number that you will just text the picture of the house or the kitchen or the neighborhood or whatever you want, and send it in to get the pictures back. Does anyone use that for listings? And okay, good. I see some hands. Good. I mean, it really is easy and consistent. I didn't have it when I was an agent, and so I remember going into Canva and things like that. And every time I had a listing, they were all different because I always forgot like what I did, or it didn't load properly, or I just reformed. I was like, oh, I like this font now, or whatever. These are just classy, professional, consistent, and it's your marketing, right? And so that's the good part. And so the phone numbers are down in the bottom left and bottom right, depending on if you're Solid Source Realty Georgia or Realty. This info is also on Vision. So if you don't get a chance to write this down, I'll show you where the slides are so you can get it off of that, or you can just get it in Vision in the Agent Icon piece. I'll show you where that is later too. So continuing with our social media presence, where we want to market these properties, Facebook marketing, right? And I'm trying to give you some actionable, easy solutions to do this. And I'm going to break this down in 2 steps because really the first step is if you have a website, let's just get this out of the way. This is the best option for you as an agent to market your business, to drive traffic to you, but also then to share your listings, okay? So you're going in your website, you're going and finding your URL. So you can just see this is just a raw URL out of the address bar link, right? On your website. This is your listing. Let's just say, for example, all that you do there is just post it in to your business page, Facebook business page. And if you don't have a Facebook business page, we just put a video on our YouTube channel of how to make one, really easy to do, kind of how to start generating traffic and be able to get that out to your current audience. So highly recommend you use a Facebook business page and not your Facebook personal. You can share it to your personal, but if you start it on your business page, you can track how many clicks, how many views, you can boost it. And so then you can pay, to have it sent out to a lot of people. And if you're thinking about it again, in our whole picture of marketing yourself for not just today, but for the future, now you can take those results from this listing. It got out to 2,500 people and 500 people clicked on it or whatever. Now you can take that info and show the next seller, this is what I do, my Agent Icon, my Facebook marketing, put all that together. I get this information out to people, right? So you just taking control of it. You're saying, this is what I do for my clients, and this is the type of marketing I bring. We already know it's important. We already saw 89%. That's where they look at the photos, and then they go to the website, over 50% to find it. So they're there. Now we want to make sure that you're there, right? And you're marketing the properties. So all you have to do, take that URL, paste it into your Facebook business page, post. This might, I don't want to get too jumbled up on this because I'm trying to make it easy. But what you'll just do is just delete out those words. So you copied and pasted the words. It's going to populate this picture. All you have to do is just delete out that URL that you put in there, and it might be better on a live example later, but I think we have one on YouTube as well. You delete it out and just write something nice. Check out this move-in ready home in Alpharetta, offered at whatever. Open house is, this date. And you may not even put the price in, because the most curious people will say, oh, I wonder what that house is worth or what it's selling for. They click on it. Now they're on your website, right? And so now you're again, in your branding, now they'll see the price. But inside of there, you'll have that information. You'll click post, boom, it's on your Facebook business. Now you can boost it. There'll just be a button at the bottom that says boost. You pick, $10, $5, $100, $200, whatever you want to do to market that property. And, the more money you spend, the more eyeballs and more clicks you're going to get. And so then you can take that back to your seller and, future sellers for what you do to help market that property. So that's a two-step, way to market your property. I think we have a slide in here about KV Core. That's where this screen grab came from. And so if you don't have KV Core already, we have that here at Solid Source, lead capture website, smart CRM system, all of that in one. It's normally a very expensive system if you go straight there, but it's month to month and only $75 here at Solid Source. So contact me after if you're interested in that. It's a way for you to have a great online presence for a very, very good price. So that's a two-step Facebook marketing. If you want to do the easy button, you can go to HomeSnap, and they'll actually pull in your listings. If you sign up, which you have a free pro account that comes with your FMLS subscription, it will pull in your listings and it will populate. This is what your listing will look like if you advertise it through there. So you can see on the far right side how it's Instagram, Google, Facebook, and Waze. You can choose one. You can choose all of those. You can pick your amount that you want to spend. So there'll just be a slider button. I think the lowest one is like $3 per day for Facebook. And so, for very inexpensive, you can start marketing that property, and that's the easy button. The difference here between this and what we just looked at with Facebook, the Facebook ad drives directly back to your website. This one, when they click, it drives to the HomeSnap website. So you do less work here to get it marketed, but on the other one, you get more reward. And really, once you kind of break down that last system that we looked at on Facebook, it's not that much more time when after probably your first one or second one that you do. So I'd recommend getting in the habit of the other one. But if you're in a pinch or something and you want to get it marketed out, you can use this as the easy button, and that's just homesnap.com. To get there, if you've never set up an account, it'll say sign up as an agent, put in your MLS, your ID for the MLS, and then it's going to create an account. And it's no charge because you're a member of the MLS. So that's that piece. And then if you like print media, then you have an Express Docs account already with being part of Solid Source. So you'll be able to go in and create flyers, postcards. There's multiple systems that will pull in your MLS listing and create those postcards. The good thing about this one is once you get all of your profile set up in Express Docs, it will email you and say, hey, we see you have a new listing. You set up to have the closest 30 neighbors, 100 neighbors, you preset this amount. Do you want to send this postcard out? And it will say just listed or whatever the status of the property is. And all you have to do is say approve, and then it blasts out those postcards to the neighbors. So you can preset that up so that when you do have a listing, it just automatically notifies you. I think that's pretty nice because, again, it's more the easy button. You're flying through that transaction and trying to help that seller, and now you just push the button if postcards are in your marketing realm of what you want to do. Okay, so we've done some marketing. Let's talk a little bit about the showings, right? The showings that happen. You can see a lot of stuff on this screen right here, and we do recommend that these be on the table near a door or kitchen. And again, this is your brand. When people come through the door, You want them to know that this is how you'll set up their property when you come sell their property, right? Bottled waters, these are all, great examples. Candy bowl with mints, your business cards, the flyers, list reports data, which we're about to look at, which is another easy button. And then buyer and seller guides that we have available right on Vision for you to download. You can market yourself with those and have them right there for the buyers who are coming in or the potential sellers that are coming in, just to pick up and know a little bit about what's happening in the marketplace, right? And those are already done for you. You don't even have to put one pen to paper or one keyboard, note on there. You can just click print and then just have it right there at the door or your area wherever you have this set up. So the list reports you see right there in the middle, that's what we're suggesting on here. You can use the flyers from Express Docs. You can have another service that you prefer or you create on your own and have those. But list reports, we've reviewed this in a prior sales meeting, is extremely easy for you to set up. Again, it brings in your listing. All you have to do is put the MLS number, and then it creates things like this. In a matter of minutes, it will say, what's that MLS number? You hit enter, and now you'll have what they call a marketing kit. And that marketing kit has things just like this and more. But then you can print these, you can send these out to your database or your clients. Hey, got a great new listing. Here's all of the info. And so they'll have a flyer about the schools, the convenient, things that are located near that property, the neighborhood eats. That's my favorite one out of this group here. And so you can have all of these, just email it to your clients, print it out, have it at the home, use this however you want. But again, it's an easy button for you to market that property. And that seller's going to be like, wow, my agent put this out at the house, right? And if they have another friend who has maybe is selling their property and they go over there, they're going to say, well, my agent put this out and they put waters out and my agent had professional photography and all these great things, right? And so you just really want to make sure that you're plugged into these, because this can make or break a referral, right? And you want to be referred with high confidence, not just, oh, who sold your property? And then, they give you their name and there's not much enthusiasm. So that's where we definitely recommend that.
Excuse me, Demo. That site was List Reports?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listreports.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And there are videos. I think we did a sales meeting video we did and recorded it. And so that's on YouTube as well. On our YouTube channel, if you need help, and that website is solidsourcechannel.com, and I'll put that in the notes too. So a lot of great information there where we review. And
List Reports is a Solid Source partner.
No, List Reports is a third party service. They do this at no charge for agents. Where they make their money is on the mortgage side. So if a mortgage lender wants to sign up, they'll make their money through that. But for agents, there's no cost. All right. So something that we do have on Vision for you are buyer and seller guides. They're beautiful. They're about 30 or so pages each, roughly. They're updated 4 times per year. Buyer guide, seller guide. The front page, the back page, you can download these and put your picture and your contact information. You can download and print them as is and put your card either in the front cover or paper clip to the front or whatever you want to do, whatever level you want to take it to. But these are available for you right on Vision. They're under the buyer seller guide part, under the marketing side. And so highly recommend these. You can see on the buyer side has a really nice graphic path to home ownership. So really cool for buyers to look at and say, oh, that's so pretty. And this is the path to, home ownership. But it provides a lot of really good information. And so, 30 or so pages. It is national. So it doesn't just talk about the Atlanta market. You should know that before you hand it to somebody. But other than that, the information in there is fantastic. Talks about mortgage rates, talks about the market for sellers and winning a sale and that type of content. And they're different. It's not just like slapping a cover on the seller guide and calling it a seller's guide. The content really is meant for buyers and meant for sellers. So these are some other things that you can have at the property. You can use these to promote your business or have them in your car and you meet a client and now you're handing these out. So again, at the property. Another great thing that we've seen is at the property having, these are all picture frames, so you don't see the little back part of it. But these are picture frames, about $1 per frame, at Dollar Tree, places like that. And then you just printing out a little card on the inside, because how many times have you walked into a property and you either read something on the description and you got to the property and you'd forgotten about it, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought that place had whatever. And if something had kind of been attached in that property somewhere, or sitting on the table, or attached to the wall, maybe not the wall if it's, you're reselling that property, but somewhere in there that says, hey, look up, hey, check out go through this door, because through this door really is a huge walk-in closet, or whatever the case is. But you're bringing this to the table again for your sellers, right? So you're really highlighting the features, the heated tile floors. If somebody can see that, it's probably just from the control on the wall, and most agents will not. Most people will not just see that dial and know that that's a heated floor. So that's an example. Under cabinet lighting, you'd like to think that maybe the seller or you got over there and turned on all the lights. Maybe you forgot one, maybe they didn't, maybe they're out of town, and so now you're throwing in there under cabinet lights, right here, just so they're like, oh, there's the switch, and boom, they're on. So anything that you have. we have an in-office example of a Bluetooth speaker in the bathroom fan. How many people would know that's there without having a sign, right? And having something like that there. In-ground sprinkler systems. I mean, possibilities are endless, right? For what you can use this type of thing for, but super easy to do, very, very low cost, but very effective, right? And then again, you being the person that's marketing that property, you're going to show, it shows a lot about you, being the professional, not only to the seller, but the people that come in that property. So this is one of my favorite slides in this class, is just, some things above and beyond that maybe a seller wouldn't expect. But you get all of this information on that walkthrough we were talking about, right? Where the seller's walking you through and you're making your notes. You're like, oh, that's cool. Let me write that down. And when I go to market this property, I got to make sure that I highlight this feature. And so, of course, it's in your description. But how many people read the description and then come to the house and they see something at the house and they completely forget the description? They're like, oh, look at the cabinets. Oh, look at the backyard or whatever. And so this is just highlighting those features. So that's where that piece comes in. The next thing is setting up showing time, just being familiar with showing time, not only on the desktop, but on the app. The app gives you a lot of things that you can do. It's easier on the desktop version, laptop version, whatever you want to call it, just to go in there and set it up, because you probably already know this, but I do want to say it just for those people who haven't done maybe a listing before, is that your sellers can approve the showing if you want to, if they want to, or something like that. You can be the person that gets the notification, and then you reach out to your client, right? Hey, we have a request for a showing at 3 o'clock. You can both get it, and only you can approve it. You can set up a lot of different ways for this to work, but just know that it is there. And the other important thing is that you can go in there and block off a schedule. So every Friday afternoon, the client can't take showings between 5 and 8 p.m. So you go block it off where it can even be requested. So you don't have to then tell that agent, hey, I know you requested it and you got all your clients excited, but you can't go see it. So you want to set this up obviously at the beginning, right, of the listing, but that's going to help you get to that point of again being the professional and being the person. But you're talking to your seller, as part of the conversation, right? Hey, do you want to also approve showings, or do you just want me to? We both get it. You may not even bring it up. You may just say, hey, this is how it works. And if they say, oh, I want to approve it, okay, great. Well, I have a way for us to do that. And so you can control the conversation, or they can do it too through the showing time app. You can do a lot also with the lockbox itself inside of the Supra account. You can lock it out like certain times and have a time frame on that too. You can also see who keyed in and out of the property, right? So you can do all of that right there from that Supra app. And I forgot to mention this about showing time. So on showing time, you can see there's a lot of status down here, canceled, showed it. It automatically sends, if you didn't know this part, if you've ever shown property, you've probably seen it. If you've never listed a property, you may not know where it came from, but you show a property and it says, feedback request, how did you like it? And there's a preset message, right? 1 through 5, rank this and this, but you can actually go in and change all of those if you want to. If you want something specific about that property, you can change the question to be about that, or maybe you just don't like the questions in general, you could change those. But that's how you do it if you're a listing agent. And then if you're mostly working with buyers, that's where that's coming from. It's an automated thing. It knows the appointment was ending, and it just sends out that email, right? Automated. So it's good though, because if agents do fill it out, now you can take that report and give it to your sellers. And it's a little easier when another agent or a client of that agent says, is price too high, something needs to be repaired, whatever. Now you're taking that, maybe you've told that client that. Now you can take actual data from somebody who's shown the property or seen the property and say, this is what they're saying about the property. Let's talk, right? Let's do something about this. So that's showing time. We went through the lockbox part. And then we kind of have some additional topics as we approach our 12:30 time slot today. We're going to talk in this section just about some best practices, kind of wrap up some loose ends from all that we went over today. And so this is, make sure your documents are visible, your property disclosure, CAD feature sheet, utility sheet. You can do this two ways. When you go into the MLS and set it up, you can have the documents loaded, so that when an agent wants to, wants to access those, all they have to do is click and download, or you can be the gatekeeper. It's up to you, right? They can say, hey, can you send me the property disclosures, all this stuff? It's up to you. The mindsets behind those are, I don't want to be bothered about those. Here they are. Or I want to know who's very interested in the property, so I want to be the person that sends it. Kind of probably depends on how many showings you're having, and do you want to be involved in each one of those? So I mean, those are optional for you. And I'm sure you'll have some best practices on what's happening today and what's the better way to actually do that. And actually, I do want to ask that: is there one or the other that someone that's doing some listings today that finds there's no chance you can keep up with all the people asking for the disclosures, or do you have a preference? Anyone want to answer that question for us?
It's just easier to put them in the MLS system.
Mm-hmm.
Have them done.
Okay. Anybody like to be the person that sends them and not have them posted?
I personally think that if there's something that's kind of difficult for the seller to explain, it's better not to put it in, because then you can lose people thinking that there is some major problem just because it was complicated disclosure. So I think it depends on the house.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think it's much easier to have it in there because most people just want to see everything's good.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyone else before we go to the next topic? Probably fall in one of two of those camps. So the other item here: check Zillow, Realtor, Redfin to make sure that the syndication happened accurately, right? So typically it happens fairly quickly to hit all of those. But your client, that's, your client, their neighbors, their friends, whatever, that's probably one of the places or the first place they're going to go check it out. And so you want that to be accurate as soon as possible. So once you put it in MLS and once it's listed as active, or, in the coming soon status, I guess not so much that one, but active, then you want to go over to these third-party sites. And really the best way to do it is just Google the address, right? Search for the address and see what all pops up, and just click through, the top 4 or 5, which is going to be, these 3 will be at the top, and just make sure that the information looks right, that didn't reformat in a weird way, and that the pictures came across. We've seen some cross syndication errors, I guess, through Zillow, maybe from like a previous listing. It pulled the old photos in, and now your photos are jumbled up with the old photos that maybe didn't look good. And so you can log into Zillow and uncheck, or at least you could do this, uncheck the syndication with the FMLS and reorder the pictures and reorganize and have even a different description. Probably wouldn't recommend that unless you had to do it because it just was causing errors for your pictures that you took and was like bringing in those old pictures. So, but just know that, it's not always perfect, and that it doesn't always just copy over directly from the MLS to those systems. Just checking that out, right? Just making sure it looks good. And if you have any questions about that or need some help, call us at the office. We'll jump in and see what we can, see on our end and help too. We don't have any special access in those systems, but we can at least maybe talk through it. So the next one is, shoe covers, leaf blowers, and a vacuum, right? Like, what are some things that are probably good to keep in your car with you? If it's the fall time and you're listing a property and maybe the sellers aren't there, or maybe there's one of the sellers maybe just physically can't do some of these things. Blowing off the property before an open house, right? Again, it's your brand, it's your product, it's what you're selling for that seller. Shoe covers, if it's brand new carpet or just an immaculate home or something like that, providing those at the front. And then held vacuum or something like that if it's again another property that's maybe vacant or something that you're doing for your clients. Those are just brief examples. There's way more than that. But just using, thinking about, hey, if someone's showing this property and I want it to show as best possible, what are some small things that I can do to help this? Music channels on the TV when they come in, the fireplace lit if it's cold, music on the speakers, ceiling fans, window blinds, checking out everything and just making sure that they're clean as possible, right? And a lot of that does fall back on the seller, but also we want to point it out. Sometimes, how sometimes when you're in a place, sometimes you don't, and you live in that place, maybe you don't see exactly everything the way someone would if they walked in and had never seen that place before. And that's what we're doing. We're going into their place. Maybe we have never seen it before and we see things that they don't. If we don't bring it up, we'll talk about that on the next slide. Then we're doing them a disservice. Captions on the MLS photos, and these two tie in together is can the buyer see that entire home from that listing and kind of know that property without saying like, well, did that room attach to that room? And where does that view go into? We've all seen captions that are written really well, right? This is the view from the kitchen towards the master bedroom, towards the, lanai, towards whatever. And then the next picture is that, and it kind of feeds together. And you're like, whoa, I really, aside from doing one of those 3D walkthroughs, which are really cool, that's kind of the way to get to that point. So, it's an extra step. It's a little bit more time for you, but would it help a buyer come to the property that otherwise wouldn't, or does it just, again, solidify you as the professional? I always like to read those captions, and I may be the only one, but I think it's worth it. And then being upfront with the seller. If there's something that needs to be removed, like from the front of the home or inside the home that just will not show really well on photos, probably the number one thing, and that's in parentheses here, is items on the kitchen counter. They may have, 10 things and the kitchen counter may be huge, but you have to let them know or show them, right? Show them pictures that you've had previously or other listings and say, look at this really nice home, a couple miles down the street from you, and look at the kitchen countertop. It looks really cluttered, right? But it only has 7 things on it or 5 things on it, and just showing them what you're there to do and help that. Can you please, just only have the coffee maker up there or whatever, right? That was always my suggestion, unless I just got pushback that everything was bolted down. It was like, listen, we need to do this, even if it's just for pictures and everything else goes back up there right after pictures. We need to have these pictures be as beautiful as possible and as clutter free. Pictures shrink things, and if it looks like there's 5 things on the countertop, now it's gonna look like there's 100. Let's just get it done right from the beginning, so we don't have to explain it to people. So goal there, being proactive. Open line of communication with the sellers. First thing here, to be unclear is unkind. And that's what we talked about earlier on that last slide, is just relaying to your client, right? What's happening in the marketplace, what's happening with their home. What are you going to bring to the table? What are you going to do for them in the marketing of the property? And so just being clear on that, having your marketing plan ready. We talked a lot about kind of that situation today. The listing, the coming soon, the open house, are you going to do those? If so, why? If you're going to use them, then obviously tell the seller, this is what I do and this is what I will do for your property, is have an open house because I want to save you time. You have a 4-hour window on Saturday or whatever, then use it, right? And if you're not going to use it, obviously you wouldn't bring it up as a benefit. All feedback from the open house, from showings, whatever it is, we hit on that with showing time. Being honest. It can be agents can be brutal in their feedback, but sometimes that's the best feedback, right? And so you have to take that and tell your sellers, some of that feedback, right? Now you have to know your seller a little bit. If they're, going to get, their feelings hurt and say, let's don't even sell this property, you might have to reformulate how you say it, but you at least have to relay the message, the information, over to those sellers, because that's what people are seeing in the marketplace, especially if you're hearing it more than once, from buyers. Views on social media, that we talked about that, how to get that over to your clients and let them see that, and then the feedback and any market changes. We all know that markets don't just continue in a straight line or even just a slightly upward line. They can go all over the place. And so you may have a time where you list a property and something 10 days, 30 days from there, if it's still in the market has changed and it's either, increased or decreased for the seller. And so you may have a chance or a time that you need to adjust and make some recommendations for that. So that's where the home adjustments and the prices will come to. So we're kind of winding down here, and I want to show you some tools and systems that we have for you that you'll be able to download and use if you want to. One of which is a contract kickoff email, and you can see a copy of and it's actually not an email, it is a Word document that you can put in an email and send to your clients, or you can print and give it to them. But essentially, it's going to be, congratulations, their name there, and you'll see a space on that Word document to type it in. Below are important deadlines and dates for their contracts. Now, this is, under contract kickoff. So you'll fill in the information. You'll put your information at the bottom. You'll send them an email, and you've already sent them a copy of the contract, and so they have that. But this is just kind of a recap of the important dates. The great thing about this is it's dual use. It's good for them to be able to take a look at and see a snapshot, but it's also good for you because now you have a snapshot. Now you can keep that in your computer. You go in your calendar. Okay, earnest money due on January 17th. So I'm going to put me a reminder on January 16th to make sure that happened. And then finance and appraisal is due January 25th. I'm going to go in my calendar and put on the 23rd so that I have a couple days fudge room there to say, hey, we got to really pick it up. We didn't do X, Y, or Z. And so this is a way for you to keep track of what's happening. Your clients keep track of what's happening. They have it. And then you're able to, again, be that professional. The net to seller sheet we're going to look at here in a second, and then I'll show you one checklist, and then again your calendar equals you being the professional. This article I thought was pretty interesting. It's how to spot a bad agent. So this is a consumer article, right? Like not for agencies to really use, but for clients. And the thing it says is how to spot a bad agent. Look out for these signs. If you find yourself waiting hours or days for your agent to return your calls, texts, or emails, I know no one here does that, but I'm just telling you, obviously it exists in the marketplace because there's an article about it. And so at some point it's happened, right? And then let's look at that one, style that doesn't mesh well with yours. So we talked about the disc profile earlier, right? That could be a big reason why that's a topic on this article, is because you're a certain personality, the seller's a certain personality. But again, knowing how those different personality styles interact, and that's what that report shows you when you take that personality test, that disc profile. That's going to answer that piece for you, right? And then this last one I thought was pretty interesting. If the agent tends to sugarcoat the situations. So we talked about that feedback, right? The buyer says, this place is horrible. Like the bedrooms are too tiny, and there's the backyard slopes. And then you go to your client and you say, yeah, they just didn't like it. That's really sugarcoating, right? It's not telling them the feedback, it's sugarcoating it. It's not being honest and proactive with it. So you can still be nice and not technically sugarcoat, the information to where they don't hear really, what's happening there. So being responsive, being professional, and being honest is exactly what this article is hitting on. And we've kind of chatted about that. So personality style, we talked about that earlier with the disc profile. And so again, knowing yours, here's a little quick rundown, just a Cliff Notes version. I really want you to do it just so you see yours if you haven't before. But high D tend to be direct, driven, and decisive. High I tends to be influential, social, optimistic, outgoing. High S, steady, stable, sympathetic, cooperative. And C, compliant, conscientious, concerned, cautious, and correct. So we talked in that scenario earlier about a D, someone in the husband and wife being a D and someone being a C, you can see the difference, between how those two people are, right? One is very concerned, very cautious and correct. The other one is direct, driven, and decisive. Give me the details. The other one, I need to know all the details. Or I'm sorry, D, don't give me the details. And C, give me the details, right? So knowing that and just kind of wrapping your mind around that will really help. And it's cool because once you know these things, you can meet people and pretty quickly figure out like, oh, this person falls more in this. And you can be a couple of these different styles, but typically you're maybe one or two, not all four, even across the board. That the way they describe it is pretty rare for that. But anyway, just knowing that I think is really great. And we're all real estate agents. So I think it's good because we come across a lot of different people. And so that's the website. It's TonyRobbins.com/DISC for the DISC profile. So if you go there, there's a free DISC profile, and that's where I took mine. They were offering it free, at least as of last week. So hopefully that didn't change anything. But you do have to put some information in. So we're not we're not partnering with them or anything like that. It's just a place that you can go if you want to and get that done. All right, listing dialogue options. Has anyone in here gone to YouTube and said, listing presentation, listing dialogue, anything like that, and search for it? I know when I was a new agent, I probably spent way too much time watching these type of videos, and some of them are similar themed, but a lot of them have their own way of doing it, which really leads to you focusing on the seller, right, and being for them. It kind of drives back to all of what we talked about earlier. Is you are the guide, you are the person who's helping them, and the conversation can be a lot of different things, and that's why it's really hard. When an agent says, what do I need to do to be successful as a listing agent? It's not, hey, here's this 1 30-minute video and you will be successful for the rest of your life in listing, right? It's really the whole thing. Talking to sellers, talking to people, not even just sellers, right? Just talking about real estate. Hey, what did you see what's going on in the market? Most of the time, we've all been to parties and barbecues and events and family things where real estate a lot of times comes up. You'll either hear it, two people talking about it, or somebody knows you're in the business and says, how's the real estate business? At some point, during probably most, events, something about real estate or close to real estate or a time that you could bring up real estate, might come into that opportunity for you. And so again, that's a dialogue option for you to jump in and educate, right? Provide information. There's always a good time to talk about real estate, buying, selling, investing, any of those, right? It's either a great time for buyers, a great time for sellers, a good time for both, a good time for investing or whatever. Interest rates are projected to go up to 4%. I saw an article yesterday by the end of this year. Great time to talk to your buyers, right? Hey, if you're thinking about it, this is what I saw. I wish I had that article. I would give it to you today. I'm sure it's available on Google, but interest rates going up, send that to them. Hey, I know you're thinking about it either this spring or the end of the year. Just want to let you know what's happening, right? Or what they're projecting that may be happening out there. Or for your sellers, right? Hey, we're at an all-time high. Who knows if it's going to continue or not? 11% appreciation last year. They're projecting, I think it was like 4% or just a normal year, this year. And so you can send your sellers that, right? We're kind of probably at an all-time high if they're thinking about selling. Whatever it is, whatever the dialogue is, we've already talked about ways to who to talk to, how to talk to them, right? Like ways you can help them. And then, focusing on real estate. It's always a conversation, and people love to talk about real estate, especially when they're not real estate agents, right? Like, oh, I saw this property and, it was amazing. And the cool thing is when you're listening or they're your friend and you can say, I know that property. Like I've walked that property. It has these things going on or whatever, right? So just a way for you to continuously think about it. And, the phrase there is what you focus on expands, right? And so you focusing on real estate and just always having your head wrapped around what's going on in real estate, knowing some information, knowing information about the community or the neighborhood or the restaurants that are coming in. There's always something to talk to clients about. And we always want them thinking about you when that comes to time to do it. This is kind of a little bit of a side note, but I want you to know this. So only 1% we saw in that stat earlier are selling to iBuyers. but really, what we've got here is if you're thinking about selling to iBuyers, you stay in the deal as the agent. Don't just say, sure, go sell to Open Door and I'm out of there. Because look at this. Open Door earn 1% on top of the seller paid commission. So essentially, you can earn 1% without the seller paying anything. Staying in the process through Open Door. So the other sites, OfferPad, I don't think I was able to grab whatever theirs is either. It's just not available on the website, or you have to get in a contract with them. I'm not sure. Obviously, Zillow is not buying homes currently, so you don't even have that to be involved in. But don't just write it off if they say I'm selling to Open Door. Say, well, I can actually assist you with that, right? And go through that process, because really it may come back where they get that offer and you review it with them and say, well, this is a good offer from the top. But actually, look at this. They're going to require this level of repairs, or they may get halfway through, right? And there's an issue. So stay involved is the key there. Don't just give up on that transaction. All right, y'all. Well, if y'all have anything, feel free to reach out to us. We're so excited you were here today.